We're rolling. Go ahead.
All right, this is Robert Dunlop, co-founder of WellnessHeroes.com, soon to be WellnessHeroes.tv. Our slogan is Truth in Wellness. We're an independent reporter on what's happening in the world in wellness, and our slogan is Truth in Wellness. We're honored to have Dr. Shiv Chopra with us here today. Please say hello to our audience, Dr. Chopra.
Hello.
All right, I watched you today, and you were talking about some amazing things. First of all, for your average viewer who might think, what's a fellow who? It's not that. Can you explain what that acronym is?
Fellow means like a PhD given by an organization, and the WHO is the World Health Organization. This was a traveling fellowship I received from the World Health Organization about 20 years ago to study vaccines regulation throughout the world.
Fantastic. So you're not an MD, but you're a PhD.
I'm a veterinarian as well.
And a veterinarian, okay. So that lends additional, let's say, biological credibility.
Yes, because I'm a veterinarian, so that means I worked in both areas of regulation of drugs, antibiotics, vaccines, or drugs which are given to people. Drugs are also given to food-producing animals. So therefore, half my career of 35 years at Health Canada was first in the human area, then the second half in the veterinary area. But the law is the same, that anything which is given, sold in Canada, and it gets into the human body directly or indirectly, say for example through food, or drugs given to people or vaccines given to people, the company selling those products will have to prove to the government of Canada, to the Minister of Health, that that product will do no harm to human health.
Right.
So the company has to do research and prove to the Minister of Health. And since the Minister of Health is not a scientist, even if that person is, then they have to employ experts under themselves. So I was one of those senior scientific experts in Health Canada for 35 years.
35 years with Health Canada. What was your title?
Senior Scientific Advisor.
Senior Scientific Advisor. Who would you report to within the government at that time? What would be the title?
My own title was Senior Scientific Advisor. Then in that division, there will be a chief, there will be a director, there will be a director general, there will be assistant deputy minister, ultimately the minister.
So about 5-6 levels.
5 or 6 levels. But what has happened over the years, that all those levels are not technically qualified.
So
all
the
levels above were not technically qualified.
Would I be considered qualified in some way as a licensed professional engineer here in Ontario?
Well, if you're a professional engineer and you are in charge of regulating bridges or buildings, of course you are. But if your boss...
This I know.
If your boss is an accountant or a lawyer who knows nothing, and then he tells you to approve that bridge or a building regardless of your recommendation, that's where the conflict will occur.
Yeah, at the PEO, Professional Engineers Ontario, we're often debating about all these regulations, and we are supposed to be whistleblowers. That's our mandate. We're supposed to be above the law. We're supposed to basically, our ethics is to blow the whistle on anything that can hurt people or the planet, more or less.
That actually is your job.
That is our job,
because,
and that's...
You know, whistleblower, people take this as a negative term. Whistleblower is a very positive term. For example, on the playing field, if there's a game going on, the umpire blows the whistle if somebody plays foul.
Absolutely. And in the Canadian sport of hockey, we need that whistle.
Right? So he blows the whistle. The word whistleblower you will not find in the dictionary. Similarly, a policeman sees somebody committing crime, or he's speeding, and the policeman blows the horn or whistle and says, "Stop, I'm going to charge you." And in that process of charging, Then if somebody comes and says to the policeman, do not issue a ticket, do not charge this man because he's a fundraiser for the Prime Minister, or he's a relative of so-and-so minister, or he's a funder to the party. Now, if the policeman doesn't issue the whistle, doesn't charge, now there are 3 criminals for 1 crime.
Very interesting.
That's
3 criminals for a speeding ticket. That's quite interesting.
right. So that would be your job as an engineer, my job as a scientific advisor for regulating drugs or
Right.
foods. That is my job.
I agree.
And when I apply that and they say don't do it, then I say I'm sorry, I'm not going to. So what do? They put somebody else over me once, twice, and goes on for 35 years. Hopefully I would get frustrated, will not promote me, and eventually the fight goes on. I go to court and the court agrees with me that that's my job.
Right. I'm actually going to take this ring off. People know this ring as the professional engineer's ring, and basically all it means is you're an engineering graduate. Takes 4 years to get that. To become a professional engineer now in Ontario, it's an additional 4 years field experience. So I just wanted to point that out to the public. So just if you see this ring, it doesn't mean, it just means the person graduated from engineering. They're not a professional engineer unless they have a license.
Absolutely. The same way, I'm a veterinarian. I have my license, and I've got my PhD from McGill University. It's recognized.
Which university?
McGill.
Okay.
And then I have a Medical Research Council fellowship in another related subject, immunology, at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Montreal. Then I'm a fellow of the World Health Organization. So in other words, I've got all these qualifications to do my job.
Excellent.
Right? And I have a diploma in vaccine production back from India before I came to Canada 50 years ago. So I've got all these qualifications, and then they're telling me I am not qualified, that the person who is above me, who's an accountant or a lawyer or a technician, ultimately a technician fired me.
A technician fired you.
Because they made her Director General.
In what year, and what was the name of the technician?
Well, her name was Diane Kirkpatrick. She used to be a technician in the lab, and so they made her Director General with the explicit instructions, well, we got to get rid of Shiv Chopra now.
So you don't think it was really her? She thinks she was pressured to fire you?
Absolutely, because by this time my colleagues and I had a complaint with the Integrity Office saying that the pressure on us to pass drugs of questionable safety is coming from the Privy Council of Canada.
From which council?
The Privy Council of Canada.
Okay.
The Privy Council of Canada is composed of the Prime Minister,
All right.
the Cabinet, the Clerk of the Privy Council. In other words, that is the highest authority.
Right.
You've got the politicians, you've got the bureaucracy, and the only people who are not yet involved are the judges. So if I take this complaint to the federal court, and the federal court agrees with me that it was my duty, it was my obligation to blow the whistle, you would think then they would back off. Instead of backing off, then this is now Paul Martin's time, the instructions come, get rid of Shiv Chopra or whoever goes with him. So one day, all three of us are fired at once for the same, with the same excuse that we are insubordinate.
Insubordinate. What does that mean to you?
To me, if somebody says I'm insubordinate, it means in the dictionary that I refuse to do something.
You refuse to do something.
Right? Then I did not refuse to work.
You refuse to do what? Lie?
If they're telling me to lie or break the law, then it's my duty to do that.
Absolutely.
Because that's what the court said.
Absolutely.
So now they're going to have to prove that I was disobedient. And then, to make matters worse, a few days later, you're fired, don't come to work, we'll send your personal stuff home. A few days later, two boxes arrived at my house with a coffee mug, my running shoes, a certificate signed by the Prime Minister Paul Martin and the Deputy Minister for illustrious service of 35 years and a gold watch.
A gold watch. And was anywhere on the watch engraved insubordinate?
No, but that was separate. And then they say, oh no, that's not related to that. This is just a machine signed paper. So I'm